name is Asha and welcome to this new edition of Business Africa, your magazine dedicated to the continent's business and economic news. As usual, you can win $150 in our Business Africa game. More details later, but first, today's top stories. Learning a trade usually reserved to men and seeing employment prospects increasing by tenfold. This is what these Congolese women are starting to do, and successfully.
I have always dreamed of doing a man's job, and this despite people talking saying that it wasn't good for me. But I remained true to myself. I did what I wanted to do to reach my objective. I believe that when a woman does a man's job, she's more appealing on the labour market.
Cameroon wants to put an end to imported rice bills. The solution? Produced locally to meet the needs of its population.
We have implemented a number of training courses for rice producers. I think there are clear signs that they are effective.
Meeting with the sand diggers of Monatele in Cameroon, a profitable activity thanks to the construction boom.
In April 2000, a group of us decided that as they are digging the sand out at Ebebda, we could do it here at Monatele. It's the same river running through. So we sent divers, as we call them, to go and get the sand from the bed of the Sanaga and look for sandbanks.
In Congo, women are beginning to rebel against stereotypes that have long limited their socio-economic development. Hence, in Pointe-Noire, a young woman decided to learn to operate cranes, a profession widely seen as the preserve of men. But Grace Rulendi didn't take long to shine within her squad with her ease and charisma. Our journalist Jean-David Miamle followed her for a practical lesson. Take a look.
It's hard to go unnoticed amongst all these boys. Grace Rulendi is a remarkable figure of the 20 students at the Raoul F. Training Institute, assigned to a practical session in handling cranes in the industrial zone of Pointe-Noire, the economic capital of Congo. Motivation has visibly taken the upper hand over prejudice. Not shaken by an unfavourable environment, Grace is following her heart.
I have always dreamed of doing a man's job, and this despite people talking saying that it wasn't good for me. But I remained true to myself. I did what I wanted to do to reach my objective. I believe that when a woman does a man's job, she's more appealing on the labour market.
But how does this young lady from the working-class district of Makayabu feel in the midst of all these men? Does she regret her choice?
I like it. I like to do a job where you can actually be remarkable. If I was doing the secretarial work, I personally think people would ignore me. When I do a job like this, I actually gain more value in the eyes of others.
Obviously, Grace Rulendi feels fulfilled in this training as a crane operator. She acknowledges the fact that her family environment and the atmosphere at school help her overcome social prejudices.
Yes, the training is simple. It's good training. It's really good. The people around me didn't expect a girl to do this. And as soon as I arrived, they were all happy. They even appointed me class captain. At home, Mum was very proud of me because she learned that her daughter chose such a profession. In my neighborhood, I don't really like exhibiting what I really do there.
The Raoul F. Vocational Training Institute has already recorded 12 training sessions of 6 months each since it opened in 2016. 7 women have already been trained, and according to Cristali Bitezo, a classmate, Grace is really exceptional. She's managing to be among the brightest in the class already. Although there are a lot of men who are part of the program, she is not disoriented. In any case, she is learning very well. She is even an example for the majority of girls who try to succeed in our company. Anyway, Grace, she's a role model. At the Raoul F. Vocational Training Institute, the example of Grace Rulendi and also all the other ladies who preceded her in the training is very encouraging and a great way to eliminate prejudice and help improve women's condition.
Contrairement au mythe, hier,
Contrary to myths, we thought that these were jobs reserved for men. In other places, particularly in Europe, we see the involvement of women in what was thought to be reserved for men. We have had 7 women who have passed through our school to learn. They have shown that they can do just as much as men. In Pointe-Noire, the promoter of this training institute can already appreciate the small but precious steps of the emancipation of women coming from his establishment in the Congo. The woman today takes responsibility. The responsibility to participate in the various trades which were reserved for men. Yesterday it was difficult to see women do certain trades that men do. Yesterday it was a myth that they are trying to shatter. Because yesterday it was hard to see women doing certain jobs that men do. But now, in any case, they are doing these jobs, thanks to their efforts and motivation. Knowledge is power. Vocational training breaks down the myths of professions dedicated specifically to men. Enough to gradually change the situation in a predominantly female country, where people often marry very young and have little chance of learning a trade.
Insecurity is worsening in Central Africa and particularly along the MSR1. This main road is the one through which all imported goods and humanitarian aid arrive in the Central African Republic by land from Cameroon. As a result of the attacks, more than 1,600 incoming trucks, including 500 of humanitarian supplies, have been stranded at the border since mid-December. A blockade even more serious as 2 million people facing food insecurity depend on these supplies. In Bangui, there is already a sharp increase in the prices of cassava, oil, meat and rice. And in this context, it is particularly reassuring to see investors taking an interest in food security on the continent. Fertiza, a private equity group, has raised $143 million to boost African agriculture and agri-food supply. The fund will focus on financing agripreneurs, new inputs, as well as crop resistance. The objective is to drastically reduce the continent's agricultural imports, which are constantly increasing, by focusing on local productions. West Africa imports 10 million tons of rice each year. Since the 2008 crisis and the food riots, states have implemented rice cultivation development strategies with encouraging results. Example in Cameroon, where production has increased by 2,500 tons per year. This is a report from our correspondent on site, Abubakar Munchili.
Before too long, Cameroon will no longer depend on rice imports to satisfy domestic demand. After years of economic crisis, the country has decided to boost its rice production sector.
The ministry, Minada, has undertaken a program to diversify rice production in accordance with the various agroecological zones.
MINADER is the acronym for the Cameroonian ministry responsible for agriculture and rural development. Since 2010, Cameroon has been actively encouraging rice cultivation, with Yaoundé making rice's rise a key part of its agricultural policy. Consumers in Cameroon are getting the message loud and clear.
This rice comes from DOP. It's just like the rice they call today perfume rice, which is very expensive. This one is even cheaper, but better than the perfume rice. And I know that's why you see me buy these 2 packets for my family.
Across the country, test markets to promote Cameroon-made rice are springing up. This one in the capital, Yaoundé.
The rice is better quality, but costs a bit more. I've got around 1 kilo here. That's about $1 worth. But it is better quality and even tastes good without sauce. Just needs a bit of cooking oil.
In Cameroon, as in many other countries south of the Sahara, rice is a staple part of the daily diet. annual national demand has been estimated at around 600,000 tons, but supply is a mere 175,000 tons. Initiatives and incentives have been launched nationwide to boost domestic rice production.
We have implemented a number of training courses for rice producers. I think there are clear signs that they are effective.
The nationwide program, backed by the technical and financial partners, aims to produce approximately 650,000 tons a year by 2018.
The project started just over 3 years ago. The objective is to increase output and to give farmers advice so they can produce more.
Some regions are already making a name for themselves as rice producers and are attracting more and more small-holding and large-scale farmers. Rice production in the northwest centers around Ndup, Semri Rice in the north, and the Mont Mbebit Rural Development Project in the west.
Potentially we have 800 hectares of tidal flats we can use each year. Hybrid varieties such as Nerica 56 adapt very well to conditions in the Noon area and can produce up to 6 or 7 tons a hectare. We are looking at a possible harvest of 4,000 each year.
Potential for greater output of other locally grown produce is enormous in these regions. However, the emphasis is on rice production to ensure a reliable food supply for Cameroon citizens.
Now people are mobilized to produce rice, but producers need to be better organized. The main problem is to make sure rice is processed so it can be marketed properly. And for that to happen, the state needs to install processing plants.
With a productive rice sector, Cameroon could make huge savings. With $255 million spent each year importing rice, there is clearly the incentive to invest in processing.
We are working on producing more seeds, both for rain-fed rice and irrigated paddy crops. Another aspect we are working on is the acquisition of a rice huller to remove the husks in areas that haven't got processing facilities yet.
Once processing is established and in compliance with international standards, Cameroon may well be exporting to its neighbor Nigeria. The African giant is one of the biggest rice importers.
Welcome back to the second part of our show. The international COVAX vaccine pooling system is finally delivering the first doses in Africa. Recall that this UN system was designed to promote equity in access to the vaccine, but also to pool costs. An excellent idea, but one that has encountered obstacles such as the slow production of the pharmaceutical industry. But 90 million doses of AstraZeneca vaccine are finally starting to arrive. They are in addition to the 670 million already secured separately by the African Union. Over $1.3 billion is the accumulated losses for Kenya's tourism industry, which employs 2 million people. The sector accounts for 10% of Kenya's gross domestic product and should have grown by 1% last year. Flight restrictions and hotel cancellations continue to negatively impact jobs in most tourist countries on the continent, as well as the financial balance of wildlife reserves. In a study devoted to the assessment of the risks of money laundering and terrorist financing, Cameroon is sounding the alarm. No less than 160 billion CFA francs are illicit flows linked to cryptocurrency, according to the authors. In their sights, the Amba Coin cryptocurrency network launched in 2018 by the country's English-speaking separatist movement. Neighboring Nigeria is also alarmed at the risk of opaque cryptocurrency funding and has just banned bank accounts using this alternative means of payment. We head for Cameroon for our last report. Many unemployed people have no choice but to try to take advantage of the development of the construction sector by becoming sand diggers. A booming activity like in the sand quarry in Monatele on the banks of the Sanaga, which our journalist Serge Atanaga Bisso visited. Take a look.
Midstream, a fleet of boats is moored. The riverbank buzzes with the coming and going of the sand diggers. The banks of the Sanaga at Monatele, 80 kilometers north of Yaoundé, the Cameroonian capital, seem to have gained the upper hand over the Abebda sand deposit, not far from here on the same river.
Depuis avril 2000, c'est un groupe de gens.
In April 2000, a group of us decided that as they are digging the sand out at Abebda, we could do it here at Monatele. It's the same river running through. So we sent divers, as we call them, to go and get the sand from the bed of the Sanaga and look for sandbanks.
Chose qu'ils ont faite, et ils ont ramené du sable. C'est à partir donc de là, avril 2000, que l'activité commence donc à Monatele.
There is a range of different jobs in a sand quarry. First come the divers, who find the underwater sandbanks by swimming out to them with nothing but a bucket. Then there are the workers taking the sand back up into the pirogue. Once full, it's taken back to the riverbank to be unloaded. Then the sand has to be loaded onto trucks. These 4 jobs are monitored by a head of depot, a foreman who is there to settle disputes, oversee the profit sharing and, above all, maintain discipline. As is often the case, this site at Monatele belongs to a wealthy city dweller. More and more young people, from students to the unemployed, come to work as sand diggers. The money they earn is soon spent, however, either in neighbouring markets or on beer and tobacco. The work is backbreaking. 12 hours a day, from 5:30 in the morning to 5:30 in the evening, 6 days a week. The average wage here, depending on the particular job, is $1 to $2 per truckload. Each load takes about 7 return trips a day.
I'm married with 8 children. This job is my livelihood. People say you can't make a living from sand, but they're wrong.
I make about $11 a day. With that, I can support my wife and children. I have 2 children with my wife, and that suits me.
The sand at Monatele is reputed for its quality, and demand from the booming constructing area in Cameroon is high.
C'est du gros grain par rapport à Abebda.
It is bigger grain in comparison with Abebda. When the constructors make the breeze blocks and paving slabs, they need a lot of sand. That's why all these trucks come to Monatele for their sand. Abebda is more difficult. Here you have just about 50 meters where access is difficult, then you're on the tarmac. I took a look at Abebda and saw that you have to drive several kilometers to get to the sand. Access is much more difficult there.
Là-bas, c'est beaucoup plus difficile.
The sand deposit here has been exploited for just over 6 years. The non-stopped activity and steadily increasing demand has attracted a host of secondary activities to the area. A pirogue manufacture has already been set up in the vicinity to maintain boats and make new ones. There is also a small market providing meals for the sand diggers, and a thriving business supplying Yaoundé with exotic fish. The Monatele quarry used to be manned exclusively by members of the Iton tribe from the Beti ethnic group. Then a large population of Mundang came here from northern Cameroon, lured here by the promise of work. They now have a monopoly of underwater diving along the riverbanks, the first link in the economic chain. Unfortunately, there are problems. Consumption of marijuana is rife and gambling is common, a cocktail that causes numerous disputes.
C'est des choses que moi je voudrais bannir
I think things like that should be outlawed. When there is work to be done, that should be the priority. After all, that's why we're here. The Jambo brings nothing but trouble.
Gambling and drug use, however moderate, are clouding the skies of the Monetary sand diggers' El Dorado.
Well, it's now time to reward our loyal viewers of Business Africa. It's up to you to answer to the following questions. If you're drawn among those who have given the correct answers, you will win $150. This is game number 545, so listen carefully to the two questions that follow, and good luck. First question. How many women have been trained at the Raoul F. Pointe-Noire Training Institute? 9, 7, or 17? Second question. Since when has Cameroon been implementing a strategy to develop rice cultivation in the country? 2018, 2016, or 2010? You know the answers. You can participate now by going to our website africaonair.com, answer the questions, fill out your form, and good luck. And of course, don't forget to include your contact details, name, address, telephone, email, and the number of the game you are entering with the answers, of course. This game, for example, is game number 545. The winner will receive $150 as our winner this week. Congratulations, you gave the correct answers to our game number 541. Here are the details. How many refugees were displaced during the civil war in Angola? Answer, 4 million. Second question. How many countries are OHADA members? Answer, 17. Well, that's it. Business Africa is over for today. I'll see you next week, same time, same channel, for a new edition of Initiative Africa. In the meantime, you can watch this program again on our website, africaonair.com, as well as on all our social media channels. Feel free to share, like, and comment using the hashtag Business Africa TV show. Take care of yourselves and see you next week. Goodbye.